Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. Everton have been beaten 2-0 at the London Stadium by West Ham United in a game very much that you'd think spells the end to Frank Lampard. But having said that, I've been saying that since the Boxing Day game against Wolves, and it's just the latest in a string of gutless, heartless performances from this Everton side. And the only way is down, really. You can't see any other outcome for this season at this moment in time other than relegation. I think for a lot of people now, there's a feeling of resignation to the fact that Everton will be playing Championship football next season, and the table doesn't lie. We currently sit rock bottom, and rightly so. You can't really argue with that. You can't contend that because we're absolutely where we should be. We are a terrible, terrible football club owned by terrible people. We have terrible players playing for us. We've got a terrible manager, terrible coaching setup. The only thing the club has going for them is the fans. And again, I take my hat off to the travelling fans who went down there today, who won't be getting back tonight till 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever it may be. It's just numb now. It's like a numb feeling. There's no anger. There's no real frustration. I feel like we're well and truly past that. There isn't much frustration and anger anymore. I think that's been completely sucked out of most people. It's just the sadness that what our club has become. You can probably see behind me here. We've got the Everton mishmash that came out a few years ago, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. And you look at that, and you look at some of the players on there, some of the moments, some of the characters that have been involved at this club in years gone by, and that was very much Everton. That was Everton. There's players on this picture behind me that we could all get behind, that were cult heroes. We knew that Everton would always, didn't necessarily win anything, but there was always a team that we could get behind and a regime we could get behind. But that's just completely dead. It's just dead in every sense of the word now. And just talking more on the game itself, obviously 2-0. Another 6-pointer, if you want to call it that, very much as the one this time last week was against Southampton, a game that we had to win, and we completely bottled it again. And Everton in this game actually had a lot of possession, especially in the first half. We kept the ball, but as ever, we didn't do anything with it. We passed it around the back aimlessly. We passed it to the midfield. There's just no link-up play at all. That's the biggest problem for me. I think there's no one who can, cut between the lines. And anytime Everton do attempt any kind of forward pass, they just give the ball away because the players are just piss poor. There's just no attacking impetus at all. And, Demarai Gray, obviously people are ranting and raving about him after he scored that goal against Manchester City. But in true Demarai Gray fashion, he's just gone missing again. And he probably won't put in another performance like that now till the end of February, March. It's there's nothing for us going forward at all. And obviously we all know now Danjuma is set to come in, and he can't come in quick enough and just give us something else. But based on that today, I'd be turning around and thinking twice about joining this club at the moment, because he probably deserves better than that. But hopefully he can come in and maybe give us a bit of a lift, especially in those forward areas. But it's just poor all around, really. It's a lot of pressure to put on Danjuma, and on paper he looks like a very skillful and a very talented player. But again, it's asking a lot of him to come in and change this club's fortunes around. I don't think anyone could at the moment. We're that bad. But yeah, obviously Jared Bowen scoring twice. Jared Bowen, who's been in a really poor run of form at the moment for them. Of course, if you want to pick up your form, or you want to get on the score sheet, or you want to change your fortunes around, whether that be player or club, you just want to come and play Everton because we're that soft, with that wet, that anyone can just turn up and have the game with the life against us, because we're just a nothing football club. But yeah, really, really poor again. It's just, I go back to that point I made about just being numb to it now. There's no point in getting, bent out of shape over it. It's another game where Everton have been totally poor, let the fans down. Again, it's just part and parcel now, innit? We this is what happens of a weekend when Everton play. But yeah, Jared Bowen scoring twice about 10 minutes before half time, and Everton were never coming back from that. Everton, it's a miracle if we score one goal in a game, let alone get another two to claw back a point or three. So that was never happening. It was game over as soon as the first one went in. These players don't have it in them to rally themselves for anything. Yeah, and there's nothing else to say really. We're just talking about the same stuff every week. A lot of talk whether Lampard will go this evening. It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't, because these feelings are very much very familiar to when we lost to Wolves, when we lost to Brighton, when we lost to Southampton. They're all very, very similar, shouts that everyone's saying. So Lampard, it wouldn't surprise me if he goes tonight, but I said the same thing after the other embarrassing defeats that we've had since the restart. I mean, for me, I like Lampard. I think a lot of people like Lampard. I'd love it to work for him. We saw before the game, there was fans who were still very much giving him their support. We saw the video with the fans with Lampard before the game. Obviously, he looked a very nervous figure. I looked like a man under a lot of pressure. And, I look at Lampard now, and I look at that game today, and I look at the games we've got coming up, and I just think he's just like a dog. You just want to put down, you just want to put him out of his misery now, because the longer this goes on, he's not the man to change Everton's fortunes around. He's a nice fella. He says all the right things, but he's just not the man to get Everton out of this mess. And who that man may be, again, I don't know. I don't know. There's also the argument maybe it's too late. The club have probably left it too late. I think he probably should have gone after the Bournemouth games before the World Cup. That was a perfect time to maybe, take a step back and reassess the situation. But as we all know, that would mean a bit of forward planning, and that would require a bit of competence, which this board and this club doesn't do. So that was never going to happen. And now we face the prospect of Arsenal in a couple of weeks' time, in February, which will mean it'll then be October, the last time we won a game, and we're heading into February of 2023 still without 3 points. It's a disgrace, and it's embarrassing, and you just cannot have any arguments for we are where we are and the mess that we're in. And yeah, we'll just have to see what happens with the manager. He'll probably go tonight, be put out of his misery, as I say. But we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. But one thing's for sure is that Everton really are heading for the Championship as it stands. The games are running out. I think there's about 16 games left, thereabouts. I look at some of the fixtures we still have to play, and I look at the players we've got playing for this club, and yeah, it just feels very different this time around. Last year we had obviously Richarlison, and the fans really clubbed together when Lampard first came in, but it just feels different this time around. I don't know if that's just me, but it just feels very different. You've got the whole overshadowing dilemma with the board as well at the moment. Just the whole atmosphere around the club just stinks. By no fault of the fans, by the way, because the fans were the ones who pulled the club up the line last year. It just stinks. We saw the owners in attendance today as well, which is just mad in itself, given the mass threats to their safety and security last week. Then we see Bill Kenwright and Mashiri giggling, smirking in the stands, which just doesn't help the case at all. But listen, we could go on. Everton have been beaten 2-0 by West Ham. It's not looking very good at all for the Blues. Obviously, we've got a week off now because the FA Cup. Yeah, it's not looking great, is it? So yeah, we'll leave it there. And we'll just see what happens over the next day or so. See if anything happens on the manager front. But of course, stay tuned on the Toffee Blues. I'm sure we'll bring you all the updates as and when they happen. But yeah, another difficult day for Everton, beating at the London Stadium 2-0 by West Ham. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if you haven't done so already.